The Rivera siblings, Elena and Marco, grew up beneath the wide skies of their family's countryside estate, a place where every corner held a memory. Summers were spent chasing fireflies across the fields. Winters huddled by the old fireplace, listening to their father's stories. The farmland wasn't just soil to them, it was home, a heartbeat that tied them to each other and to the generations before them.
Elena, with her quiet patience, had always been the one to care for the land and their parents, while Marco's restless spirit carried him toward the promises of the city. Yet no matter the distance, the bond of childhood lingered, a reminder that they had once been inseparable.
For 15 years, the Rivera siblings, Elena and Marco, lived as strangers, bound by blood but divided by bitterness. Their feud began after their father's death, when the family estate, a sprawling farmland in the countryside, became the center of contention. Elena, the elder, had stayed behind to care for their ailing parents, while Marco, ambitious and restless, had pursued a life in the city.
When their parents' will was read, the land was left to Elena, citing her years of sacrifice. Marco, feeling betrayed and overlooked, accused her of manipulating their parents. Words were exchanged, harsh and unforgivable. From that day on, they cut all ties. Holidays passed without greetings, weddings without invitations, and years of silence built a wall between them.
One autumn morning, Marco received a call. Elena had fallen ill and was in the hospital. At first, pride urged him to ignore it, but something deeper, perhaps guilt, perhaps longing, pushed him to drive back to the old town he had sworn never to return to.
When Marco entered her hospital room, time seemed to freeze. Elena was thinner, paler, yet her eyes were still sharp, though softened by fatigue. They stared at each other, strangers and siblings at once. "You came," she whispered, her voice breaking. Marco nodded, unable to speak.
The first conversation wasn't tender. Old wounds resurfaced. Marco accused her again of taking everything. Elena, with tears in her eyes, reminded him of nights spent nursing their parents, of dreams she sacrificed while he chased his. Elena handed Marco a folder. Inside was the deed to half the land.
"I never wanted the land," she said. "I wanted a brother who stood by me." "I held on to it for too long," she said. "Not because I wanted to, but because I didn't know how to let go of the anger." The words struck Marco harder than any accusation. For the first time, he saw past the bitterness and into the loneliness she carried. Days turned into weeks as Marco stayed by Elena's side, helping with treatments and managing the farm she could no longer tend to. Slowly, shared laughter returned in small doses, enjoying Christmas. In the following months, the farm became a place of restoration. Marco brought his children to meet their aunt, and Elena taught them how to plant seeds, just as she had taught Marco when they were young. Their reconciliation wasn't a sudden miracle, but a slow, deliberate rebuilding of trust. For the first time in years, the Rivera family home echoed with warmth instead of silence. On a quiet evening, watching the sunset from the porch, Elena leaned against her brother. "We wasted so many years," she murmured. Marco squeezed her hand. "Then let's make the rest count." And for the first time since their father's passing, both siblings felt at peace, together.